Okay then, good morning everybody. Welcome to the Cinegy TV Pack webinar. Now, I've decided to do this to explain what the TV Pack is all about, to give you some ideas perhaps how it can be used, explain the thinking behind it a little way, and show you the possibilities of what can be achieved with it. And it's going to be a nice straightforward presentation here, so just tuck this out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. So, two parts. We're going to be talking first, or I'm going to be talking, and then very, very brief demo afterwards. This is going to be quite a short one today, but we should get all the relevant points covered reasonably easily. So, to start off, that everybody's confronted with trying to get the best quality television working with the most efficient spend of the money. Basic broadcast needs are there, and there are products out there that offer broadcast services but don't necessarily cover those basic broadcast needs. So we'll be talking about those broadcast needs. We'll be talking about how we've met these needs in the past compared with how we're doing it today. And we'll look at what else we offer that meets those broadcast needs. That will focus us in on the TV Pack, at which point I can explain what the TV Pack entails, what it contains, and talk about some configuration possibilities. And we'll have a very quick look at a real world customer configuration for TV Pack that's out there right now. So the basic broadcast needs, number one is reliable. A few months ago, we did a proof of concept in India with a very important company there that had been using somebody else's playout. And after the trial was ended, the chief engineer came up to our people in India and said, "Do you know, we didn't have to reboot it in 2.5 months," which of course we thought was delightful because there are air installations out there that haven't been rebooted in years. So reliability is very important in basic broadcast needs. Maybe not a basic need, but it's something that's very, very useful, is being able to record your input for delayed broadcasting, for rebroadcasting of what you've already transmitted, even for compliance. And so that's a nice thing to have. Also, it's pretty useful if you're broadcasting to be able to put your identity out there, make people aware of what they're watching, keep them up to date on what you're going to be showing, and so on. So graphics and branding are quite important. And then you also need to be able to see what it is that you're doing and how well you are doing it. And for that, it's very good to have monitoring. And sometimes people send you stuff to put on the air, perhaps commercials, perhaps clips, who knows, that simply don't conform to any standard, broadcast standard that we can read in air. And so therefore you might need to transcode. And then finally, the other way that you can be absolutely sure you've been sent something good is if you can play it on a player that is aware that it is broadcast quality and will show it in broadcast quality with broadcast quality support tools for quality control. So these are all basic broadcast needs, and we've thought that we would be able to offer something that met all those needs in a single package. And that's previously what we'd done for these things. We've had earlier products. Cinegy Express was a very basic playout engine setup that we sold a few years ago. We still have customers coming to us now looking to upgrade it. After 8 or 9 years of effortless running, they come to us because they want to see what's new and what's next, or maybe they want to go to HD from SD because there was back then you had to choose between the two. Cinegy Solo was a later take on the same concept, and in fact has been now developed farther into another product which I'll be talking about later called Solo Duo Quad. And we also for a while ran a thing called Cinegy Jet. TV PAC is an improved and uprated version of Cinegy Jet, but the same principle was there as well, that you got a set of broadcast software that worked for you. So if you see these words flowing around on our documentation or website or whatever, that's what they're referring to, the earlier versions of this basic principle. So the other options that we can offer to compare it, to put TV PAC in its relevant position, we have Solo Duo Quad. Solo Duo Quad is a combination of possibilities. So you will get 4 channels from us in a box, and you can decide at any given point which of those channels will be input and which will be output. So you can play out 4 channels, or you can input 4 channels, or input 1 and output 3, or you can feed your output to capture, whatever you like. It's constrained so that the engines, the systems, the playout must, or the record must run on one single server. However, with modern configurations, this is less of a challenge than it would have been in the past. And when we get later in to look at the demonstration, you'll see what I mean. So this offers a tremendously flexible system that you could look at as a broadcast playout, multi-channel playout system. This could be a studio recorder. It could be a video server, 2 inputs, 2 outputs. Replace that aging Grass Valley K2. But that's it's the low price option here, in that your 4 channels cost only slightly more than the TV PAC does, but as I say, locked to a single server, and with some compromises. When you're getting the full playout engine, you're getting all of our scaling technology, all of our codec support, etc. However, you are not getting enterprise features, no MAM connectivity, various things cost extra like Dolby, and there's no branding and so on. So it's a basic option, but it will meet a lot of needs. On the other hand, if you're going to go for the full approach, the proper approach, as it were, then that would be our AirPro bundle, which costs about the same as the TV PAC, but it comes with a few extra bits and pieces. It includes licenses for Dolby and DNX HD, which, since we have to pay for those, we don't include with the basic TV PAC, and it has full support for things like enterprise resilience, which TV PAC doesn't. But then again, you are paying the same for a playout as you are for a TV PAC, and you're not getting the other pieces of it. So something's got to give somewhere. But the AirPro bundle is the playout system of choice for a large number of important customers around the world. And so if your requirement is absolutely 100% has to be up all the time, then you've got to want resilience and all the other things that we build in. You're probably going to want AirPro rather than the TV PAC. So what the TV PAC actually gets you is this set: AirPro and Studio Pro with Titler, Capture, Convert, Multiviewer, Player Pro, and one other thing that there wasn't room on there to put, which is Cinegy Live. Cinegy Live is kind of specialized, and I would think of it as outside the scope of this particular discussion. It's also extremely demanding. Of all of the packages that we supply in the TV PAC, Cinegy Live is the one that's going to ask most of your hardware. In other words, you would need a far bigger server to make it work efficiently. It will work efficiently, but it doesn't come as a consequence. I wouldn't describe it necessarily as a low budget solution, so it's left out. We're just talking about what's left over. So we have Cinegy Capture now. Capture, we've been winning some spectacular deals with capture in the last couple of years. People have bought it that could buy anything they liked, and they bought it because it will meet their needs exactly. And when I say people, I'm talking about Major League Baseball in America. If you're not watching baseball live in America, then you're watching a Cinegy capture of it. We have 200 plus channels in Major League Baseball simultaneously recording HD. 200 plus simultaneous captures using Cinegy Capture. In addition, Cinegy Capture is in use at the Council of Europe in Brussels, where all the heads of state meet. And when you see heads of state smiling and waving in Brussels with all the flashlights going off, they are waving and smiling from Cinegy, because capture is used to capture all of the press information to do with meetings at the Council of Europe. Convert is a flexible transcoding solution which allows you to twist from one to another format, shape, size, whatever. It can be throttled to use only the resources you make available to it, which in a single server setup is quite important. And other than that, it's kind of unspectacular. You can open up an interface and put files in that way, or you can set up the way that these things are usually done, set up a drop folder and simply drop a file into the folder and tell the transcoder what to do with the file when it finds it in that folder. Cinegy Multiviewer is a multiviewer. Indeed, it's a multiviewer completely implemented in software. It's a multiviewer that can be scaled to any number of screens, although we deliver 4 with the TV pack, because you're not really going to need more than 4 with only one in and out channel. But nonetheless, we can build that in. Remember, all of these packages that we're talking about here are the latest releases available from our website. So that means that they have all of the shiny new stuff that we've been building in over the last year or so. They have the SRT support, they have the GPU offload, and we'll be seeing how that works later on. And then the final package in the list is the Player Pro. VLC with long trousers on is like how I like to describe it. VLC is a fantastic piece of software, and it's one of those pieces of software that's pretty much on every single PC on the planet, I think, and much credit to the guys that came up with it. However, the guys that came up with it did so through cleverness and not licensing agreements. So although it does what it does fantastically well, it's not doesn't contain licensed codecs, and it doesn't do some things particularly well. We saw that there was a need for a desktop player that would allow anybody to view proper broadcast style formats on an average desktop, just for quality control, for checking, even to parse the MXF and make sure that it's consistent. So we developed the Cinegy Player Pro. And this allows broadcast people to watch broadcast footage on a piece of software that's designed for broadcast footage. So that, as I say, with Cinegy Live thrown in as well, comes all together for €4,495 or $4,999. Which represents actually quite considerably, if you were to add up the individual bits, just like I'm sounding like the guys that sell knives on late night television, but it's a fact. If you add up all the bits, you're getting quite a lot here, but you need to run it on one server. In the past, with Cinegy Jet, for instance, that pretty much meant run one thing and then switch over to another thing and so on. However, in 2020, with offload and with the current state of hardware, it's actually possible to run these packages in parallel, so that you can be capturing without imperiling your playout, and you can be monitoring somewhere else, and so on. So the alternative is that you can just subscribe annually. If it's an OPEX rather than a CAPEX situation, then simply pay us $2,000 or 17.95 euros a year, and yeah, and every year we'll upgrade your license, and you can just keep going. And that represents quite a substantial deal, I think, in terms of what money, what you can get for the money. So what does AirPro have? Well, AirPro has playout up to 8K, supports almost all broadcast file formats. In fact, I don't think we've met one yet. We don't. Scale on the fly, so pull in your UHD and output it as SD if you want. Upscale HD to UHD if needed, etc. And simulcast in lower resolution, so you can be broadcasting HD 720, UHD, HD 720p and SD all at the same time out of the same engine. We support the secure, reliable transport, of which we have been singing the praises for the last year or so. I will touch on it briefly when we get there, just for those who might not be up to date with it. And it includes both a full branding solution and a playlist editor. And the playlist editor and branding solution tied together to make branding very flexible, very easy to do. So that's the package as supplied. Capture is also supplied, again up to 8K, again supports file formats, i.e. codecs and wrappers to meet every broadcast need. It has a very flexible scheduling tool, one that you can use either from the record interface itself or centralized from a web browser that you can basically access anywhere. And this allows you to schedule with high granularity. It allows you to capture to multiple containers at the same time. It supports chunking, it supports watermarking, it supports burnt-in time code. It's got SRT as well, and as I've already said, chosen by the likes of MLB and Council of Europe and others, because Berlin Philharmonic, because it will do what they need to do. It will capture in the best possible quality in the most flexible way. Cinegy Convert, what do you have to say about a transcoder? It will sit in the background, as I say. You can just basically say, okay, you can have 30% of the CPU, and it will sit and it will chomp your files and turn them into what you want them to be. We don't see any value, I mean, we don't believe that transcoding and speed necessarily go together. It's the old good, fast, cheap, pick two. So we don't intend that Cinegy Convert be any kind of a speed demon. We want Cinegy Convert to take incoming video in one format and output it in the best possible version it can be as an output format. And so from that point of view, it is not intended to be used for speed, and from that point of view it does mean that you can just basically give it a little bit of CPU and let it tickle over, and it will be running away for you in the background. Again, all the major codecs and wrappers are supported, as you would expect. There are also scripting interfaces, and a lot of flexibility there. You can start it off from a client, or you can feed drop folders that will deliver in specific ways. We have support for, for Avid file structures, for instance, and as I already mentioned, templating. So you can specify templates for pretty much any combination of inputs, outputs, codecs, wrappers, etc. Once the template is in place, you just call it and point Convert to it, and it will deliver you the version of your content that you want. Cinegy Multiviewer now then. Now the Cinegy Multiviewer, we were pleased and gratified that it was selected as the best software product at NAB last year, and so is still for at least another 2 months the reigning champion. Yay. But there was a reason why it was picked for that, and that is it's been delivering for a few years now. It has been a product that we've been very proud of because it's not like any other multiviewer. Hardware multiviewers have their obvious limitations, that they're only as good as the number of plugs that are going into them. Uh, because we're a software multi-viewer, we can mix and match any inputs of SDI, NDI, RTP, UDP, and SRT, and shared RAM. And I'm going to talk a little bit about shared RAM in a second. We can offer you a mosaic layout, dead simple, 3x3, 4x4, however many you want to fit on your screen. Or we can, you have a designer tool available to you to make layouts that also include things like web widgets, clocks, graphics, so more the sort of thing that you can play in your lobby, whereas the engineers are just going to want the pure information. You can monitor all aspects of the signal, monitor for black and bars and anything else that shouldn't happen. Set alerts that will then be sent to wherever you want them to be sent when bad stuff happens, if bad stuff happens. Infinitely scalable, up to 96 channels on a single server. If you cram in 4 NVIDIA boards, 96 screens of multi-viewer off a single server is a pretty impressive number, I think. But often we would actually farm that out amongst multiple servers and composite to create your final output. But basically, you can scale multi-viewer as big as you like, which, for the TV pack is kind of moot, because obviously this is not intended as a scalable option, but it's worth mentioning. You can also feed a capture status overlay into multi-viewer, and that can be useful specifically in the TV pack, as I'll be hoping to show you later. And you can output to a screen. So if you're using NVIDIA Quadro boards, for instance, the bigger Quadros have 4 DisplayPort outs that will each give you at least UHD, if not 8K. So if you're going out in UHD 4 outputs, that means you can have 16 full resolution HD players on regular hardware, with every single pixel represented. If you just want to see what's going on, you can probably scale that down a bit, get more screens on. But also you can output to a stream, and if you output to an RTP UDP stream, then that means you can propagate your one multi-viewer through your entire broadcast facility, from the basement to the top floor. You can be showing the same multi-viewer. Hardware multi-views obviously can't be shared because there's only one of them. Furthermore, if you go output as an SRT stream, that extends that functionality even further, because with the secure, reliable transport that we've been raving about for so long, you can send that multi-viewer to the destination of your choice. So you can be watching your content, your multi-viewer, at home, or route it to the home of the station head or responsible person, so that they can also be in control and see what exactly is going on. So again, flexibility is the crucial thing. Player Pro, the professional's viewing software, we like to think. It's because it handles broadcast file formats, and I'll show you what we mean by that in a little bit. All the codecs that we are decoding, excuse me, sorry about that. All the codecs that we are decoding, we have official licenses for, and we're using the same technology that we use in our other products, so you can be comfortable that it's going to give you the best possible result. Got an MXF parser in there as well, and you can take an input from an SDI card, for instance, if you want to see an incoming stream rather than just looking at a file. So what are the configuration possibilities? Well, the first simple one is simply to treat it as a channel in a box. Because you have branding, you have playlist editor included, then you can have quite simply just use it, pull in stuff as required using capture when it's needed, schedule it to when you need to play it out later, or pull in live inputs to intersperse with your player stubs. Just a simple, it's a channel in a box, but with much more headroom, much more flexibility, and much more reliability than other products that are offered as this particular solution. Another thing you can do with it is treat it as a studio in a box. This would allow you to use our capture system together with our studio system and mix and match content that you have on disk, files, etc., with graphics and with camera inputs, and the Cinegy Studio interface would then allow you to use that to create live programming, which can then go straight out to your head end or to your master control, depending on how big your operation is. Another dead simple thing is compliance recording. The fact is that with a capture system built into it now, we are back in the world where air and compliance works together. Now, excuse me. One of the situations with latest versions of air is that we used to have a little compliance recording structure built into it that basically pulled a quarter frame MPEG and tucked it away somewhere, basically. But you could record every single frame that came out of your engine and keep it for future reference. Because we were using Windows Media for this, we found ourselves embarrassed when Microsoft decided to stop supporting it, and so as a result, we because it's no longer supported, we had to take it out of the product. We didn't think anybody was going to notice, really, because relatively few people were using it for that kind of compliance recording, because everybody needs to record off the antenna. So with the TV pack, you have the possibility of, when you are ordering your playout system, that your compliance recording is automatically included as well. And because instead of the embedded engine in the air application, you're using the capture engine, yes, you can capture your antenna feed. So you can play out to your antenna, take back what they're giving you, feed that into capture, and there's your compliance recording right there. Watermark it and time code it so so it can't be used by anybody else, and so that you know exactly what's going on if you need to. Otherwise, just keep it as it is. But as a compliance recording system, TV PAC is nice and straightforward. And we like to say also, as a Swiss Army knife, if I'm talking all the time here about channels in a box, and we're looking at that, for example, of course, for community channels, neighborhood channels, small town channels, college channels, all that kind of stuff, business, internal media, what have you, AV stuff. But in a larger broadcast environment, you could simply see it as a Swiss Army knife. It handles all kinds of different jobs. You can switch in and out the applications that you need, add a channel for playing out if you need one in a hurry, stick a record on if you need one in a hurry, etc., etc. For $2,000 a year, or its euro equivalent, you could even think of it as just an insurance policy, as something when your equipment from other vendors maybe lets you down. So here we have a real-world implementation. In fact, this is kind of an interesting one, and I'm going to drop down to my desktop for a second so that I can open the pictures here. This is the Singapore Turf Club, and they have a television studio, as you can see here, for their broadcasting. Now, in Singapore, this is a very, very important resource. A lot of people follow the races, and therefore they needed a broadcast system that they could be absolutely sure wasn't going to misbehave. So into their lives came the TV pack, or in fact, the way they use it, two of them. So here we can see the TV pack in use, or the two TV packs in use. We have two copies of Cinegy Air running. We can see their multi-viewer is also visible, and we can see the playout on the back screen demonstrating that that it's working. As I said before, this is the Singapore Turf Club. I visited them, which is how come I got the pictures, to train and instruct, and I was told in absolutely no uncertain terms by the studio manager that that I was to guarantee that it was never going to break, because if anything ever broke during a race, he said his phone rang red hot and he had a lot of people shouting at him and he didn't want that. So we, in essence, made this system available betting on our reliability. But it's been working fine, and we've had no complaints back, and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do there. So this is TV PAC in the real world. So so yes, there's 2 TV packs on a huge server, 2 channel capture and play. They've actually got redundant stuff running as well. They spare ones running in Singapore City, a few kilometers away. But the crucial thing, as I say, reliability is king. This is a TV pack implementation where a crucial aspect of the implementation was the reliability of the software. But enough for talking. The demo. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how, although you have to run everything on one server, how you can actually still how that can still be useful, and specifically excuse me, by showing that it's possible to use the resources of Cinegy software to spread the load in such a way that you can actually have quite a lot going on. So we'll drop back to the desktop, say goodbye to Singapore, and start having a look at what we've got running here. So the first thing is I can quite simply just whoop up my running playout. Here is a running playout. So this is, as everything else is going on, this is the playout that's going to be going out to your antenna or whatever. And that's just sitting tickling away there, which is nice. It's being driven by air, as we see here, with a kind of a big complicated playlist, because this is from a previous demo. But this is, as you can see, those of you who are familiar with it, this is your standard air interface, files on the left, playout grid here. But also don't forget, we have the possibility, we deliver with air as well, our playlist editor. Now the playlist editor allows us to do stuff. For example, we can build a playlist that has programming information in it, which we can then use outside. So if I take this as an example, if I run a preview of this particular item that's here, we can see here that a schedule will come up. Now this schedule is reading the timings from my playlist. So I have one single simple template, which I'll show you in a second, which can read from the playlist and do the schedule. So you change the schedule, there's no need to grab a graphics guy and have him do stuff. If you change the schedule, the template will simply pick it up and play it. Now I'm not a graphics guy, it looks horrible, I agree, but it's about the principle of it rather than the aesthetics, shall we say. So the playlist editor excuse me, can be used to test the graphics that you're going to use anyway, show them and make sure that they're correct, but also at the same time the templates that you use can also be designed to read in content from your playlist. And if I go to my titler here, I can show you how that works, because I can point to oh, I have to make it visible first because it has to come up from the ground. So, so here we see our template with the variables in it referring to the various media items and when they are, and so on and so forth. The fields here, there are a number of fields that you can use to give you more or less detail, and the various variables that Titler supports can be populated in a number of different ways. So, and this is also included in the package. To go along with that, we also have our Cinegy capture. Here we see the input that we've been watching all the time is actually coming into Cinegy capture, and it's coming in. If you look towards the bottom of the screen, it says Engine MPEG TS stream, and you'll see that's an SRT stream. This play out or play in that I'm using, this video signal, is actually coming to me in the Netherlands from Nuremberg in Germany. It's like 900 kilometers from here. So this is using the SRT input capabilities of Cinegy capture. If you are taking a live stream from somebody else, and up to now you've had to fret with Asperas or some other means of trying to get the signal across, now you can use SRT to do it. And so our system is being fed by SRT to give us our input. And this input is emitting a shared RAM output. I said I would talk more about shared RAM. Well, shared RAM is in the Cinegy world. If you are running, if you have encoded some video and it's all there as pictures and sound, there's no need to do it twice. It seems strange that I should say that, but there is a surprising number of applications out there that will re-render and re-render and re-render the footage. We figure that if it's there, then it's there. And you can use it. The upshot is much less server usage, much less CPU, much less resource usage, because you can share the same video around all of our applications. So I can see my video here in Cinegy Capture Manager, and I can see it here in the actual capture application itself. Where I can see how much CPU is being used on the system, how much of the GPU is being used, etc., etc. And I can do my capturing from here, simply configure what it is that I want to do, and record. And yes, as you can see again, we've got full stream, full speed, full quality video running in capture. And then the next thing we want to look at is the multi-viewer, and yes, here's the multi-viewer. Now the input to capture, the SRT stream coming in, is here, and here we can see the little ready sign on the input to capture side that shows that it's Cinegy captures input. If I were to start capturing, that would then turn to a record, so I could see from my multi-viewer that I'm recording it. Now I've got my input and my output visible here. I also have two other incoming live streams that happen to be available, and I can do all sorts of things with those incoming live streams on top of my existing installation. So although it's only one input channel for baseband, and although it's only one record and one play out, nonetheless, if I have other IP streams coming in, I can add them and use them with TV Pack without any further difficulty. So this means that I can, for example, I can go back to, I can bring up Cinegy CG, and I can bring up my playout screen, and we should be able to, where did I put it? There, oh, there it is. Okay, so what I can do now is I can go to my playout screen, and I can play a DVE. As you can see now, we have flying live streams on our output, and I'll just do that again. Again, I'm not a graphic artist, but the basic principle is clearly visible here, and I can, by the same token, just pick, do a little squeeze back, and have a play out with graphics. And then there's one more that I can do, which I will have to load, and that's the scheduler. Okay, and do play. And this one actually, this isn't no, yeah. So because I'm not connected to the playlist for this, I can't use the playlist information, but the as you can see, the branding works completely fine. So this is the and I'll just for clarity again. Here's the multi-viewer on the top of that. Here's the AirPlay out on top of that, etc., 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 and capture as well. And this is all running on one single server. If you look to the top right of the screen, you'll see right now 50 to 60% of CPU. This is because all the heavy lifting is going out to the GPU, it's P2000 equivalent, so I can be running all of this at once on this system, and this system is basic. This is an i7-3960X. That's a 6-core processor with a P2000 type GPU in it, and yet, you know, I could run a single channel off of this box, which probably wouldn't cost you all that much to buy. Clearly, the more functionality you get when you add more hardware, that's quite straightforward. But given that we use things like shared RAM technology and offload, it means that the CPU has less and less and less to do. And so I can call up my Air Playout dashboard, wherever I've parked. There, where are you? There you are. Now, if I pull up my Air Playout dashboard, you can see that my playout is barely registering CPU. If there's any old hands out there, they may remember when the CPU would be up here somewhere and you'd be desperately trying to find stuff to switch off. But no, the CPU usage from Air is negligible. If I go to my task manager, you can see the whole system is showing a lot of use right now, but multi-viewer isn't that, capture isn't doing all that much. It's all completely under control. And then the final thing that I would pull up just to wrap things up is the Player Pro. Now here we have a capture of our multi-viewer, came in from SRT from Nuremberg, and we have the same capture here running in VLC. I'll just swoosh it down so they're roughly the same size for fairness. Now, so yeah, okay, why one not the other? Well, the reason for that is if I go here and do this, whatever this is doing over GoToMeeting, let me tell you, it's chunky, it's blobby, it's just not working. If I do that same thing with Player Pro, you'll see it scrubs flawlessly. It scrubs flawlessly because it isn't compromising. It is specific to broadcast formats, and so it can make the best possible job of them. And so we can see here that the scrubbing works much better. I can come here, I can say, okay, let's have a look at the MXF content, and it will pull up the MXF's metadata tree for me to look at and tell me if it's valid and so on and so forth. It's got full media info, well, so's VLC, but nonetheless, there's a reason why we have to ask money for it, because we pay for the codecs in it, and so that's why it costs something. But as you can see, you get something for it, and in the TV PAC world, it's thrown in for nothing anyway. So with that, we've reached the end of the webinar. Thank you very much for your time, and we've done all that. If you have any questions, want to raise a hand, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining us. If you need to get a copy of this to show people who missed it, or for your reference or whatever, just send us a mail at sales@cinegy.com. Hello.
Hi.
How can I help you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Morning.
Morning. I have a question. I've been using the TV PAC for about 9 months now.
Yes.
I'm very happy with it.
Okay.
But I'm just want to be sure on the best way to bring in SRT stream. I use SRT completely in my workflow,
Right.
to bring in external sources, but I want to be able to bring it into life. Right now, we're bringing it into an external software using SRT and then send it out and bring it in on an SDI input.
Yes.
But I want to be able to bring it in directly into AirPro for uh, to
Oh,
reduce the number of steps. So,
oh,
what's the best way for SRT input for life?
okay. So, well, I can show you it very quickly. We just pop out of PowerPoint a sec, and all right. So the way I'm doing it is that it's coming into capture, but the syntax is the same whichever way. So the capture stream, if I go to the capture manager, we'll see that, and I go to configure. Um, Here we can see the SRT URI coming in here. So
Right.
whereas if I go to air, boom, configuration, I can show you where it's supposed to go and how it's not configured on here, but I can show you how it's supposed to be. So if I go to playback, oh no, hang on. Oh, I have, there we go. So this is the output side for SRT. I am in fact outputting an SRT stream. I'm just not using it. The input side, you would want to put input here, and essentially you want your URI to go here. So this would then give you your input. Let me see if I can do something about that. Ding, next. Okay, so if we were to take the SRT input of the oops that we're looking at here in capture, which we can still do, I'll stop the capture service for now, and then I will bring up air. Okay, go to RTP input select. It's on. Because I'm going to be using SRT, I can use all the interfaces. I don't need to lock it. Oh, that's interesting. Whose was that? Okay, so, oh yes, that's my critical alarm is because now I've switched off my air output to multi-viewer. So I heard the words critical alarm in my headset from multi-viewer because I've switched this off. So, but what I was going to do was SRT, so go to the air configurator again. And here it is. And now I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I can't remember these things off the top of my head. So I have the SRT available in root, and I can just get the URL from that to make my life easier. Oh, yes, I do. Wrong device, wrong. I wanted browser. Cinegy root browser. There we go. So because this is, I just have to remember what the URI is. So if I go here, SRT, this is my input that I've been just using. If I can check it here, make sure it's correct. That's the one, yes. So, I've just done this in order to get that URI. Close it again. Boom, park it here. So there's your URI. So what you have to remember for SRT, if you're outputting and you want somebody to pick it up, then in the air engine, you will set the RTP UDP output to 0000 and your port number. And then at the other end, you point to that port number with the IP address of the machine, and that will give you your input. So in this case, this is the IP address of my machine, the machine in Nuremberg that I'm working with, and the port number. So if I hit OK and OK, that means now that if I go back to dashboard and restart that, we should. Oh, this is yeah. Okay. I've forgotten a bit. Let me go back to my configurator. Yeah, I know. I don't know if you guys are hearing this critical alarm thing that keeps coming off in my ear. It's kind of amusing. Uh,
You're not.
no, good. I'm pleased to hear it because, yeah, it proves that it's working. So oh yeah, inputs. Switch to live. ITP input is enabled. Oh yeah, I need to delete the shared RAM, obviously. And now we should be in business. There we go. So now, I've now switched over so that the SRT stream is coming in to my air engine. So that's the configuration that you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we go back to RTP input, there's my SRT input. I've switched it to on start go to live, which you may actually not particularly want to do, but this is just for demonstration purposes. But that's how you get SRT to work. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Who have I been talking to, by the way?
Oh, my name is Maxie.
Oh, okay.
Um, I'm all the way in Barbados.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
I was in Barbados like 30 years ago, man. I had roti in Bridgetown, in this little place in a back streets with cricket on the television. Yeah, I like Barbados, man. Flying fish
Yeah.
sandwiches, Stade's white rum. Aye. Fish festivals at Oystins. I went down to the fish festival
Yes.
to see the guys climb the
Yeah.
British pole. Yeah. No, I like Barbados. I've not been back on the
Yeah.
boat, but yeah. Anyway, nice to
Come
talk.
again.
Give me. I'll take any chance I can get. All right. Anybody else got any questions?
I have one more if no one else has a question.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, since you're up so early in the morning, that's fine.
Yeah, it's very early for me. It's like 5 a.m. for me.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is minor, but in the last update feature set,
Yeah.
there's a way to have color coded um, the program files
Yeah.
and bumpers and so on.
Yeah.
How is that done?
So that's actually in the air control itself. And you can essentially per item. First thing in preferences, you can create. I think here you can edit categories. So basically, add category here. And then set a color for that. That's relevant and like that. So and then this then becomes possible to insert it as a parameter. I can't remember exactly how you do it, but it's in. Oh, here we go. Category. There we go. Bong. So it's got this item has no category, but I would be able to. Did I save that last time? I should be able to take that category that I just created and categories. Yeah. So okay. So I don't know why I can't get to that right now. I probably have something. Oh, am I connected? No, I'm not connected. That's why. The engine's not running. Start the engine again.
Oh, okay.
All right. And then connect to it. Oops. Okay. So now I'm connected. Now I should be able to go to or some. That's not going to work. Pull something down here, and it's going to kick off straight away. I can go here and set category now. Item properties and category, and there we go. Bing. Yeah. So now that's how that works. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. A question on the Live Pro. I know you're not covering it here. Just a very
Yeah.
basic question.
Yes.
Um, if I have, say, two sources coming in,
Yeah.
can the output of Live Pro can feed the live RTP input
Yes.
on the player on the playout so that I can switch sources if I need to live.
Um,
So
not no. Yeah. So in other words, treat it like a cross point. Yeah. No.
yeah, like if I have two live streams coming in,
Yeah. No. Not
and
right. Not
out,
right
that
now.
can the live will be output to be the source of a live feed in the player.
No. Right now, it's only manual. So no. If the you would have to, you still have to do it by hand. There isn't any way you can send a secondary event, unfortunately, to live. So you would still have to manage it by hand.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
All right. In which case, thanks everybody for coming, and I hope it's been useful. And I'll see you at the next one. Bye now.